Hi, Kunvas here, a member of the Freeplane user community. I've made several videos over the past several years that were usually in response to specific questions that people had asked on the Freeplane forum. If you haven't been there, it's a wonderful place. You've got lots of people who know the product and will be glad to work with you to help solve specific problems. But those maps were designed to show one capability of Freeplane, and I've recently begun to think about the fact that there are people who may have never used a mind map before. And so my purpose today would be just to walk you through the creation of a new mind map. Just assuming you had just downloaded the thing, and walk through the process and take you along with how I would create a map for a very simple purpose. Many of us have need every day to create a list. Something to remind us either for shopping or for packing, and it involves a process of thinking about what you want to do in no particular order and then trying to make sense in a way that would allow you to pack appropriately. So I was thinking this past weekend, I just got back from a camping trip, and for that trip I used Freeplane. It's a tool I use every day. It's called mind mapping, but I've come to think of it more as an information management process or a system. It allows you to make incredible use of things you know and things you don't know, and lets you fill in a portrait of knowledge. You start out with what you have and you begin to piece it together very much like a jigsaw puzzle. And that's what this tool called Freeplane will let you do. So let's just say I want to pack for that trip. I won't just show you the map, I'll walk through how I did it. When you open Freeplane, you get a screen that looks like this. I come up here and say, File, New Map. You see what's presented in the middle of the page is called a root node. That's the very beginning of your map. Maps are navigated by left clicking. You see how the cursor changed. Left click on your mouse, and then while holding that button down, you drag the map around. So I'm able to now move this map in a sort of a window. When I let go of the button, the cursor changes back to an arrow. So that's a key navigational feature. You just need to know that right up front. So I've got a new map, and I'm going to name this thing camping. All right, you call it anything you want. Typically what will happen is when you come up here to save your file, save, it will use whatever you put in the root node the first time. That doesn't mean you can't go back out to your hard drive or wherever you store the map and change its name later. It doesn't matter, but as a default, Freeplane will name it what you have put in the root. All right, so I have a root node here, and it's called camping. And what I want to do is create a list of things I need to remember to take. Now, what happens, at least for me, when I'm making a list is I don't have any particular order. It's more of a brainstorming process, and that's where Freeplane shines. It lets me create a list, lets me think through a problem in an order that's not constrained by structure. You just start writing things down. Freeplane is very fast in that way. You can do this on the fly. I've used it for large groups, sharing a large screen on the wall, electronic, LCD screen, and you as a group can work on creating green lists, sort of mind dump of all the ideas you have. Then, because of the capabilities within mind mapping to move these ideas around, it's very easy then to go back and make sense of what you just captured. So I'm going to do both of those today. I'm going to capture some ideas in no particular order, and then I'm going to show you how I use those to make sense. So if you come up here, File, New Map, Edit, New Node. I want a new child node. Mind mapping is arranged in a family structure. So you have parents, grandparents, siblings, children, great-grandchildren. If you think of a family tree, that's a good place to start for how mind mapping works. So I just created a new child node using Edit, New Node, New Child Node. And it opens with the cursor blinking inside, so it's ready for you to input information. So let's see, I'm going to need some food for sure. I hit a return, and that closes that node. So I have a new child node named food. You can tell which node is highlighted by the little blue bar around it, at least blue in my installation. It might be different, customizable in yours. But if I hit return again, by default, I'll get another child node, another sibling of food, if you want to think of it that way. Let's see, I'm going to need a tent. Return. Closed it. Hit a return again. Let's see, I'm going to need a sleeping bag. Return. Return. I'm going to need probably an ice chest for the food. Return. I see I'm going to need some form of ground pad, a way to keep me up off the ground. Oh, and that I will need something for the tent as well. So a tarp that I can spread out on the ground to put the tent on. Oh, I don't want to forget my knife. I have a camping box downstairs. Gaming, this is a camping box. It has a lot of stuff in it that I already have, and I just pick that up and go with me. So I need to be sure and grab that, maybe even update it. Let's see, food. Well, I've got a watermelon. Now, what I'm going to do is say edit, new node, new child node to create a sibling or a child to food, because I've just had some ideas here. I'm going to say I've got a watermelon in the refrigerator downstairs, and I'd like to get some oranges, apples, nectarines are in season. I'm going to need to get some hamburger, some buns, the bread you put hamburgers on. I need some mustard, pickles. I have onion. Oh, I like red onion. Let's see, mustard, pickle, onions, fruit. Well, that gave me a thought. I'm going to need to be sure in the camping box. Let's see, in the camping box, I'm going to say edit new child node. I'm going to need to check and be sure I've got forks, a knife. I'm thinking more, no, let's see, that would be more like, I'll open, that's what I did here. I took knife and I double clicked on the node, and double click again. I have a little editor in that node. I'm going to say utensils here because I don't want to, I'm going to take forks and take it out. No, I'll tell you what, when I say utensils, I'm going to do something now that's very critical in mind mapping. I'm going to take hold of fork and click on the node. And you see how I get this little shadow that moves? When I take that, I'm now in the process of moving that node, and I'm going to make it a child of utensils by bringing it down. And you see what happens when I move it over to another node. Different areas of the node are highlighted or shadowed. The shadow above means I would place it above. That would be as a sibling. Below means I would be placing it below it. But if I come out here on the end, I'm going to let go. I'm going to have made it a child of utensils. And then I could say knife. I'm going to check come back over here and double click and say bowls, plates, paper towels, insect repellent, just thought I'm going to go back up here to red onion. I'm going to click a return and say a dozen eggs, because I hadn't thought about breakfast at all. Some sausage. I need some spices, right? Let's see, spices to season all this with. So I hit spices and think, okay, well I can come up with those right now. New node, new child node, and I can say pepper, sage, salt, cinnamon, so I'm beginning to paint this in here, and I look at it and say, well, I've got some patterns that are forming. I'm going to come up here and say, I'm going to say, edit, new node, new sibling. I'm going to say, let's call this shelter as a category. And in that, I'm going to put my tent by moving it. I'm going to put sleeping bag in there. I'm going to put the ground pad in there. I'm going to put the tarp in there. So now I've got a component of things. Oh, I'm going to need a pillow. I forgot about that. Go down to tarp, hit return, type in pillow. Oh yeah, I need some chairs. Hit return. I need some kind of camping chair. Hit return. Now, is that really shelter? Not sure. Knife. It's probably in my camping box. I'm going to move it. So now I have these things that I'm going to be checking in the camping box. These are the things that I call food and spices. Let's see. I need some lettuce. I forgot about that. Lettuce. And I'm going to need some tomato. And did I get pickles? Yeah. I'm going to need some oil and potatoes. Okay. Now, this isn't a list to teach you how to camp. And there are a lot more things that were on my other list. Oh, I just thought of some more. Let's see. I need some dry clothes. It's supposed to rain. So I can put in here... You notice I'm going up here and saying new child node, and then there's no key shortcut here. That's very awkward to actually go up there all the time and keep putting in a new child node. I'm going to change that to tab. Now here's an interesting feature in Freeplane. I want to create a new capability that doesn't exist in the default program. I'm going to come up here and say hotkey, assign a hotkey. To create a new keyboard shortcut, press Control while clicking on the desired command on the menu. So I hold down the Control key, and I come up here and click Edit, New Node, New Child Node, and a window pops up and says, okay, what key do you want to put in there? And I'm going to use Tab. Okay, say Tab. Now, when I hit Tab button, I get a new child node without having to go up to the menu. You can do that with any of the menu items that are within Freeplane. It makes these shortcuts personable. You create those, and they're saved with the map so that your settings, the way you like to work, keystrokes that you like to use, are saved the way you like. So it's very customizable. If the code or keystroke you're requesting has been used somewhere else, it will tell you that, so that you can make a decision about, do I want to override this? Some of the features and some of the keystrokes you never use, you may say, yeah, I don't mind changing those out. So now I've got dry clothes and I want to put a child on there. Hit Tab. Oh, see? So now I've got, I need a shirt. I need some pants. I need some socks. And, I'll need some underwear. So that's a list of things I need to be sure and pack. All right, let's just stop here. Let me take that. That doesn't look right there. I double-clicked and got the little window, and then I go to Ice Chest and clean that up. Ice chest is really more like something like food. I'm going to put it up at the top of my list. So I've got an ice chest, food, shelter. And camping box, really, for me, it makes more sense to go here. And, oh, I'm going to put the dry clothes in something. So I'll say it. I hit a return, backpack. And I'm going to put the dry clothes in the backpack. So I've got other things that will go in there. But now I'm starting to make sense of how this map works, how my list works. I start to realize I've got to go to the grocery store. And I've got some of these things that I have, some of them I don't. So here is a wonderful feature within Freeplane. It's called cloning. I could drag these out and create a new node at the bottom called shopping and move these items that I don't have out of their native category down into the shopping list. But Freeplane has a relatively new feature called cloning, which is staggeringly powerful. I'm going to show you an example. I'm going to create a shopping list right off to the side here, and I'm going to clone items that are already in this list for use in the shopping list. And clone means that basically a node is copied and resides in 2 places or 3 in the map. And any change I make to any one of them will change the other 2. It's a beautiful concept. Let me give you an example of how this would work practically. I'm going to make the shopping list on the fly. There's something called a floating node. You see here, floating node. A floating node is basically a node that's not attached to anything else. It is technically and programmatically is attached just like any of the other siblings to the root. The root is still the highest node, but visually it looks like it's not attached to anything. Okay, and I'm going to just pick a place out here and hold the shift, control, double click. Control, double click. And you see I've created a little node out here that's not attached to anything. And as I say, programmatically it's attached to camping. But visually it's out here by itself. And I'm going to call this shopping list. Okay. And then see, I'm looking at this. I've got a watermelon, but I don't have oranges. So I'm going to hold my control key down and start clicking. I don't have apples. I don't have nectarines. I have the hamburger, but I don't have the buns. I have mustard, no pickles. I don't have the eggs. I think I've got tomato. I don't have tomato. And I have the spices. So now I'm going to say edit, copy. And then I'm going to come over here to the shopping list. And I'm going to use something special here. It says edit, paste, clone. What did I do? Oh, I see what happened. Let me go to undo. See, I hadn't highlighted. I'm going to paste shopping list and say Control D. Okay. That, you see the Control D was the shortcut for paste clone. And what had happened is I had highlighted the wrong element. I had highlighted lettuce. Well, let's see, lettuce is one of those I don't have either. I need to pick some of that up. So I'm going to edit, copy, and then I'm going to come over to my shopping list and Control D. So I now have, in this wonderful arrangement over here, I have a little shopping list that has these items, and you see how they're identified with a little square. These little items tell me that this is a cloned node, the little square attached to it. Over here says oranges. Suppose I want to get navel oranges, the ones that have the big bright oranges, and I go ahead and clarify that over my shopping list. You see what happened over here under oranges. Any changes I make here or here are copied to the other one automatically. The little square tells you that it's a clone. All right, this gives you an example of the kinds of things. Well, let's see, I need to buy some ice. So I'm gonna see, I typed in a new element under this floating node called ice, but it doesn't appear anywhere else. It doesn't show up here at all because it's not cloned. It was an original to that list. So I have a combination in this list of clones and regular nodes, and I'm going to pick those things up on the way as I go down to go camping. All right, this just gives you a feel for the kind of thing that I'm going to close. Oh, that's the other thing I didn't tell you. When you highlight the end of a node, you see that little minus sign? When I click on it, it closes all the children down so that I can clean the map up visually to its very basics. That's my camping list. The shopping list doesn't change. And anytime I want to see what those are, the little circle at the end, as opposed to the little square at the beginning, the little circle at the end tells me that there are children under this. And I can open that, and then if I see any more circles, like sometimes like this, I can see what those children are as well. So it allows you to create information in a way that makes sense. Categorize it, put it where you want it, and then only look at the high levels when you need to, but the detail is available when you want it. It's a perfect application for taking notes. It's a perfect application for making sense out of research you find on the web. You collect all these bits and you want to make sense of it later. Once you have them all in a map, you can move them around, order them in any way you wish, and take information and put it in a format that makes sense to you. That's what mind mapping originally was for. So I hope this was helpful. If you have questions, feel free to ask them on the Freeplane user community. Take a look at what the choices are. Begin to think about how you can make sense of your world using Freeplane. I hope this was helpful. I look forward to seeing you out there on the web. Thanks.